Are we truly in for the greatest NetherRealm game yet? Will all of this waiting time be worth it once we finally get our next NetherRealm game? Well, I sure hope so, because NetherRealm really needs to make a banger this time around, because this time they've got a lot of competition, with Soul Calibur 6, which is out now and so much fun, Dead or Alive 6 is coming, and Street Fighter 5 and Dragon Ball FighterZ are still kicking. There are so many fighting games out there, and it is going to be a very big challenge for NetherRealm to truly come out with something special. So today, I wanted to give my piece on what I think NetherRealm should improve on to truly have what it takes to make the greatest NetherRealm game yet. To answer this question, we have to look back at NetherRealm's latest game, Injustice 2. Overall, a great game, a game that I personally enjoyed, but also one that has really struggled to keep the momentum going in the FGC, the fighting game community, to make the game feel alive in the community. EVO 2018 was pretty rough for Injustice 2, as Injustice 2 saw its second year at EVO with only a little over 300 entrants, compared to its first year at EVO 2017, which couldn't even break 1,000 and ended up with over 800 entrants. Now, that's not bad, but compare that to the game that was before Injustice 2, Mortal Kombat X, and its first year at EVO, which had over 1,100 entrants in 2015. And in its second year, 2016, it had over 700. Clearly, Injustice 2 has had some problems, but this is in terms of the FGC. In terms of sales and casual players, yeah, it was a huge success and sold tremendously, but the FGC, the community that greatly helps put the game out there for new audiences to come and check out and be a part of the community, to grow, and ultimately get more sales going, is what makes the game feel alive and is crucial to a game's lifespan. So what were the factors that prevented the same kind of momentum MKX had to circulate in the community for Injustice 2? First, I think it's only appropriate to bring up how ridiculous Deadshot, Black Adam, and Aquaman were in the first 3 months of when the game was out for everyone. Deadshot with his zoning that made him almost untouchable, Black Adam with his ridiculous damage, and of course Aquaman with the Trident Rush spam. These three characters did make the game unfun for a lot of people, and it wasn't fun to watch either. Again, this was in the game for the first 3 months upon release, and a couple of tournaments took place during these months. So when you have matches that look like this, really dumb looking matches, it's not a good thing leading into EVO. And then when you get to EVO, and then you get to the grand finals, and you have a match that's a Trident Rush fest, I would assume people just had enough with it because it just doesn't look fun and the viewership and interest is gonna go down from there. Now, I'm not saying that Dragon, the person who won EVO 2017 for Injustice 2 with Aquaman, didn't deserve the win. He totally did, and I'm not blaming him for anything, but I think we all know everybody who was watching that match wanted Honeybee to win. People just didn't want to learn the matchup against those three characters, and I feel like we as a community should have done better to put up with it. Not to say that those characters didn't need the nerfs that they have now, but if we didn't like it, we should have fought it, and we definitely were trying. Honeybee was a great example, as we saw at EVO 2017, when he was dominating with the Flash, who was arguably a low to mid-tier character. But in the end, unfortunately, it wasn't enough, leading people to lose interest in the game and for new audiences to not really bother investing more time into the game to learn more about it. Secondly, I want to take a look at War of the Gods, an online tournament event that has been going on for 3 seasons on Stream.me. And there's the other problem already, Stream.me. These online events could have the potential to bring in new viewers to check out what the game is all about. But when you put it on Stream.me, a very unpopular streaming site, you're definitely not going to get that. Let's take a look at the viewership over there right now as I am recording this video. Now this is the homepage, the front page. These numbers aren't that good, but let's look at the archives of the War of the Gods events. Now these numbers wouldn't be bad if this was coming from a guy hosting by himself, playing games by himself. But this is a tournament event. You want at least 1,000 viewers because 100 people can be the number of participants in War of the Gods. I'm not saying that's the case or that War of the Gods is just a trash thing. No, it's well put together. Mr. Aquaman does a fantastic job, but if you really want to put your game out there, Twitch, which is the streaming site to go to, is undeniably the better option to go to, as you would most likely gain more viewership to reach new viewers. That gets you the views, and that gives us, the community, the potential momentum that we so desperately need. So what about the content of the game itself? Now that I've talked about tournaments and the FGC and the problems Injustice 2 face with those two subjects, what would the core gameplay content need for NetherRealm to truly make something special? I believe NetherRealm is long overdue in creating a system that makes it easy for new players to get into the game. And yes, I am suggesting an auto combo system by mashing a button. I know many of you are going to call that scrubby and tell me to get good, but listen, first of all, I don't need this system. I'm not new to fighting games, so I don't want this for me. I want this for others and for new players, so they don't feel so lost and feel a little welcome to a game they spent $60 on or more, depending on which edition they bought. Of course, I would like a limit to an auto combo system, as I don't think it would be a good idea to have a person who strictly uses auto combos, which would not be a very mechanically skilled player, to win a match against a person who is mechanically skilled and doesn't need the auto combo system. Somebody who is better at the game should win the match. In addition, an auto combo system to make the game player friendly for new players would open the door for them to take the time to learn the mechanics of the game themselves a little more each time they play the game, and eventually get to a point where they don't need to use auto combos. You've already got the player feeling comfortable and rewarded with your game, and with that, the player is probably going to invest more time since they may think what else they can do or what else they can discover that would make them better. And then boom, the next thing you know, they make progress, they win some more matches online, and they win tournaments. It should be mentioned that in Injustice 2, NetherRealm did go ahead and added a more in-depth practice mode that's absolutely incredible and is a step in the right direction, not only for NetherRealm games, but for fighting games. This needs to return for the next game since it would be in the game day 1 and get more attention this time around, as it was added late in the game for Injustice 2 and probably not getting the bigger attention it deserves. On a side note, for us players who have invested the time to learn a character or two and their combos and game sense, have to admit that it is very painful to watch a match between two people who are new to the game or don't know how to play the game at all. Just take a look at this match against two people who clearly do not know what they're doing.
Being out of this show match, he has to win one more game to just tie things up 2-2. But with that first tip, he's off to a fantastic start. And he's got that little bit of a bar advantage at the moment. At least one to work with, and there we go, there's the projectile. Also, the Joker's playground is...
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Players should know at least something to make the game look decent at the least when played at a low level, and that's where the auto combo system comes in. Now that new players are having a fun time and getting those combos down, you have got to have those combos look great. That's a big part of the appeal for new viewers when they watch EVO or watch someone streaming the game on Twitch. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think NetherRealm games have looked all that good when played at a high level, and it shouldn't be that way. It should look satisfying and smooth. That's where most of the visual appeal should come from. Here's an example, Soul Calibur 6, and this is footage of me playing the game, and I suck at this game, but my gosh, you cannot deny that this game looks beautiful, even at the skill level I'm playing at right now. Now, I'm not saying that NetherRealm games look flat out bad. The intros for the characters in MKX and Injustice 2 look beautiful, the story cutscenes look great, the victory poses look great, the stages are great, and the facial animations are just stunning in Injustice 2. That should not go unnoticed at all. However, all of those things in the game is not what you're going to be mainly seeing in gameplay. Sure, it's nice to have the facial animations and the story cutscenes look great, but don't stop there and say that's good enough when you could be doing so much more by making the combos at high level play look as satisfying as everything else. Granted, NetherRealm is getting better game by game. Take a look at Supergirl's meter burn trait. That animation looks beautiful. I think we can all agree on that. So just imagine the feeling of satisfaction looking at that single move for the entire match from both of the characters' combos. It would be amazing, and you know it. I've brought this up before, but if you want to learn more of the importance of animation in fighting games and how NetherRealm really needs to step it up with animation, I'll link the videos below because the guy who makes the video explains it better than I ever could, so please check it out. Now that we talked about gameplay visuals, it's time to talk about how we're playing the game. The past two NetherRealm games, for me personally, weren't interesting enough in terms of gameplay variety to keep me going. With Mortal Kombat X, you had the 50-50 fest. Almost every character had them, which was just not fun at all. And in Injustice 2, it got better. It wasn't a 50-50 fest, but it was a zoning fest, and also the way to play the game for almost every character is the same mixture of combo string, EX special move, back 3, jump 3, combo string, and special move. Yes, I know you're going to have to use all of these tools at some point, but I would like some variety in the way I play the game. To name a very recent example of gameplay variety in fighting games is none other than Soul Calibur 6 again. Every character in that game is so different from one another, and because of that, when I try to learn a different character, it doesn't seem like I'm more or less doing the same thing as I was doing for the character I was practicing with before. This avoids the stale feeling and enhances the sense of intrigue one will get when approaching a new character to learn. Injustice 2 is the closest we've got to every character being unique in some way, and I applaud NetherRealm for doing the best they can with it, and it's only looking better leading into their next game. Also, I know I'm going to trigger some people, but for this next game, if it is Mortal Kombat 11, I don't want to see X-rays, at least in the way they are right now. Look, X-rays are cool to look at, and NetherRealm really does know how to create visually awesome super moves, but after a while, they get old. They're just YouTube videos in the middle of a match. Not to mention that not all of them are great to look at, and those are the worst kind. Getting hit by an X-ray and just looking at a boring X-ray move or a super move. So for me, I would like to see X-rays altered in a way that mixes in with the combos, but you still gotta be active in the match when you perform it. The best type of ultimates in games for me personally is still being active in the match when performed, as opposed to just putting down your controller in the middle of the match and watch a YouTube video, because that's what makes it more epic each time. For example, my favorite game to play right now is Overwatch. The ultimates in this game almost never get old when you initiate them with every character. When I use Junkrat's ultimate, which is his Riptire, the anticipation is set when I initiate it, and I know I have to set it in motion the smart way in order to get eliminations on my opponents, and that's where I have to keep going to make sure that I can get the best of its value. And if I do that correctly, I end up with a play like this, and it becomes such an epic moment while also looking visually cool. There's a cycle to this approach: the anticipation, the follow-up, and then the satisfaction. And remember what I said about feeling the sense of satisfaction in a fighting game? So if they can do this in a way that translates into a fighting game, so if I perform an X-ray but still active in the match, I'm still doing the combos, I'm still button mashing and everything, and it becomes such an epic play each time I do it and not look like I'm watching a YouTube video every time, I think that would be a great approach. But that's just one way. There's plenty of other different ways I think NetherRealm can come up with, but this is the way I would do it. And it's where I would like to see X-rays and supers go in future NetherRealm titles. This next bit I'm going to talk about is something that I've already talked about in another video, so I'll just briefly touch on this for a moment. But NetherRealm games are way overdue to adding a ranking system for online play. I was recently listening to a podcast by Rio, and he brought up, hey, if you have a friend who wants to get into this game and get good, where's he gonna go? And yeah, that's a great point. Where are you gonna go? If there was a ranking system for online and you climb up the ranks to, let's say, the Elder God rank, then yeah, you know where to go, and once you get to that level, it feels great knowing you truly are a highly skilled player. It's what keeps me going at Overwatch because they have the same kind of system, and I want to at least get to Grandmaster, and if I'm lucky, top 500. A ranking system would also help the matchmaking because if I am rank Mortal, and in this instance that'll be a low rank, the system should match me up every time with someone who is also around my rank, and that person would be on the same skill level as me, which would make it a fair game. As I've said before, NetherRealm made the right move in Injustice 2 by making ranked play the best of 3 instead of one and done, and the final step for them to take for their next game, without a doubt, has to be a ranking system. Make no mistake, I am in no way trying to imply that we should be worried about NetherRealm's next game. NetherRealm Studios continuously gets better with the quality of their games with each new entry, and when Ed Boon says they are working hard on making sure their new game is the best one yet, I believe him, and I have no doubt in my mind that we are in for greatness. What I talked about in this video really focused on what I would like to see to make a good fighting game, but what would make a good Mortal Kombat fighting game? I have plenty to talk about for that subject in another video, as I don't want to make this video too long. So what do you guys think about what I have to say? Do you agree or disagree? I encourage you guys to discuss in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and also be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for more content. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next video.